Right.
We had no intention of meeting with the county administrator or deputy administrator. So at this point in time, in the common area, there's a big picture window there. You can look out I-75, really nice view. The glass doors leading to the 11th floor elevator is right there. Here is standing myself, Councilman Otto, the county administrator, the deputy administrator, and the admin for Carolyn Rice. Again, no office, no secret meeting, anything of that nature. Shortly after that, everybody was introduced, the whole 9 yards, shaking hands. The Huber Heights city manager, Rob Schomer, walked through the 11th floor glass doors.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. I had no idea our city manager was going to be there.
Right.
He stated on August 20th at the work session that, he's had problems reaching out to them. And that's as a matter of fact, he had stated, I've had no contact with county commissioners and a counteroffer from the court, or a counteroffer from the court was no longer interested in purchasing. They want a 2-year lease. So right here in that quote, and I wanted to read that whole quote so it wasn't taken out of context, he had stated he's had no contact with county commissioners. He also stated during that part in time that he's had a very difficult time getting in contact with the county administrator and deputy administrator.
So maybe he had to go there in person?
Maybe so. Because, again, I know folks are listening to the podcast like, oh, that's just a coincidence. Glenn and Richard walks into the county building and boom, there's the administrator. The great thing about that is there's cameras there.
Right.
It's a public building, so records requests can be pulled. The admin for Carolyn Rice can attest to the fact that we came in to meet with Carolyn Rice. The receptionist can attest to the fact that me and Glenn asked to speak with Carolyn Rice.
Right.
The county administrator and deputy administrator can attest to the fact that we had no prearranged meeting with them. And even during that conversation, we had stated we had no idea you guys were going to be here.
So what did you want to talk with Carolyn Rice about?
Well,
about all this, about the courts and everything, or
my whole goal with Carolyn Rice, as I stated, my whole goal with Carolyn Rice was to do exactly what my city manager told me to do, that I should contact elected officials. So I wanted to contact that elected official to see if she was aware of who the council members was that's been negotiating with Judge Pierges.
Okay.
Because I believe that's important information that I need to share with my colleagues on council.
Right.
So that we can maintain the transparency of this process.
Because if there are other council members negotiating this deal, and no one else on council knows that they're negotiating that deal, wouldn't that be interference, or wouldn't that be some sort of...
That's a slam dunk interference, in my opinion.
Okay.
If those council members are negotiating, I didn't authorize any council members to negotiate.
Right. I haven't heard on any council meeting that there was any... I don't know what y'all said in the executive session when y'all
The
came
legislation
out,
from August 20th, if you read through that, it doesn't say that city council is authorizing city council members to negotiate.
Right. It was only the city manager.
That's right.
Right.
So that was a concern of mine. I need to have that validated. Again, I've already got a source that's told me Mark Campbell Ed Lyons are those two council members.
And if they say no, it wasn't us, we don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, because I've seen political jobs like this come against other council members, I'm fact finding. I'm inquiring with the county administrator at this time. Because, again, we're sitting in the common area. I come here to meet with Carolyn Rice. They all show up, and then Rob walks through the door.
Okay.
And, I acknowledge Rob. All I said was, hi, Rob. At that point in time, I turned right around to the county admin for Carolyn Rice, and we walked over to a seated area near that large picture window I was telling you about. So at that point in time, we were sitting there, we were the first part of that conversation with Carolyn's admin was to catch up on a February 27th meeting that myself and Councilman Otto had with Carolyn Rice herself.
Okay.
I know for some of your folks listening on the podcast, council members engaging with county commissioners does happen. We met with Carolyn Rice on September 27th to discuss some avenues of additional park funding, park ideas.
September or October?
Oh, I'm sorry. February 27th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, February 27th. Thank you for that.
I'm not October. I was thinking August. We're all messed up. All
yes,
right,
it's almost Halloween. So February 27th, we met with Carolyn Rice, and that was before we went to a National League of Cities convention.
Okay.
So we wanted to get some data from the county as well to share with other elected officials. Talk about some parks. We talked about some infrastructure. I know the infrastructure bill was a big thing talking about in D.C. So we wanted to get her opinion. And plus, she's new to the job.
Right.
I had supported Carolyn Rice, during her campaign. I, thought she was, I still think, that she's a very good elected official for this county and it represents it well. So the first part of that conversation with her admin was saying, hey, thank you for that February 27th meeting. We wanted to, touch base on that. Additionally, we wanted to ask Carolyn about this source of these two council members negotiating on behalf of the court. At that point in time, after that small introduction, the county administrator and deputy administrator has now joined us in the seated area. We didn't invite them.
Right.
Again, mind you, I had no prearranged meeting with them. I did not call them, send them a text message, an email, nothing to say we're going to be down there. That was not our goal.
Okay.
So they had joined us in the seating area. So now at this time, we're all sitting in the seated area. Rob Schomer, I don't know where he went. Literally, after I had acknowledged him, said, hi, Rob, turned around.
Do you know who he was there to meet with?
Yes. According to Tyler Small, Rob Schomer had a 10:30 meeting with him. Now, mind you, that's quite interesting because, as I stated earlier, we had walked into the county building at 10:22. So you factor in a couple of minutes to get through the building, parking garage, get into the building, up the elevator, the whole 9 yards. Again, I don't have the exact time that Rob actually walked in, but the deputy administrator said that he had a 10:30 meeting with Rob Schomer. But Rob Schomer's nowhere to be found. The deputy administrator sitting here talking to me.
Okay.
So again, I don't know where he went.
So it was quick. It was an in and out deal.
Oh, very in and out.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and truth be told, you would thought that our city manager had saw a ghost when he saw us standing there.
Really?
Yeah. So, and again, which is why I believe on Monday, the assumption is going to be made that me and Glenn were there to negotiate. And as I'm getting ready to continue sharing with you our conversations, you're going to see that wasn't the fact.
Go ahead.
So
tell us what you got.
So one of the first points I wanted to get off, now that the county administrator and deputy administrator has joined us in this conversation, is I wanted to get one thing completely off the table. I asked, very direct, again, sitting there was the admin for Carolyn Rice, Councilman Otto, myself, the two administrators. I said, would you have a problem ever stating, whether to our council, city manager, whoever, that myself or Councilman Otto has never entered into negotiations in any way, shape, or form with you or the deputy administrator regarding the Huber Heights court location? And he said that is completely a correct answer. Okay. You guys have been inquiring with us the whole time, fact-finding. There's been zero negotiation on your guys' part.
So according to you, all those folks sitting at the table from the county who would essentially deal with the city manager on this negotiation for the court building said you and Glenn Otto, because you guys were both there, did not negotiate. So you guys weren't negotiating.
That is correct.
Okay.
Further from that point, we had asked the admin for Carolyn Rice and the county administrator and deputy administrator if they can confirm the two names of the council members who had been negotiating with Judge James D. Pierges.
And they said?
They said they cannot confirm that.
Okay.
They had stated, actually the county administrator had stated directly to me that the first time a council member had been involved in this process is when I called him about the judge's comments.
Okay.
So I am, at this point in time, taking the conversations from the county administrator and deputy administrator to be completely true and accurate. Again, they provided me facts, and and they have stated they can't confirm these council members' names, that I was the first council member they've had engagement with. And at that point in time, still no negotiation.
So they said that you were the first council member they had engagement with?
Yes, from Huber Heights.
From Huber Heights.
Yes.
So then how do the other two council members come in on that?
That's a great point, because then Tyler Small, the deputy administrator, said that any conversations that the judge has had on sides or anything like that, they're not privy to those. They don't know who he's spoken to and so on, which is understandable. I mean, yes, this is a big deal. The judge is a part of the court's decision, and there have been, the judge has been in front of our council even previously on April 22nd to talk about the court building.
Right.
So at that council meeting, Judge Pierges was in front of all of council talking about how he wants to keep the court building in Huber Heights, how he really sees the placement of the courts throughout Montgomery County, and how it needs to be local and it will remain right here in Huber Heights. And again, that's from the meeting minutes of that meeting on April 22nd. So you've got the judge who's already been to a council meeting on April 22nd.
Okay. He
comes in at a public meeting in Frickers and makes comments. Now, honestly, I'm not against the judge for his comments. I think the judge made comments that he sees that is factual.
Exactly.
And I think that's honorable.
For those of us who were there, it was appreciated to understand and actually hear that level of transparency. So
and I think we have to appreciate that. I'm not slamming the judge at all. I've got respect for the judge for making those comments.
Right.
Where my issue is the council members that are negotiating with him, and I think, as you've seen throughout this whole process, that's my goal.
And is he able, as a sitting judge who was elected, he's part of these negotiations?
That's a good question, because Matt, I haven't been a part of the negotiations with the county.
Okay.
Now, he has stated at the public meeting you were at on April 20th that he's been a part of the negotiations.
Okay.
So I'm going on the judge's words that he's been negotiating. Now, one of the other interesting parts is during this conversation at the admin building, they had stated an appreciation they wanted me to take back to all of council and say thank you for providing this short-term lease that gets us through the end of the year. The deputy administrator said that's all we've been asking for, is to give us options. Right. And he said your council gave us that option, and I believe you guys are going to be voting it on Monday. And all I did was confirm to him it's on the agenda.
Right.
So at that point in time, we had a further discussion that the collective thought was that a rebuilding of relationships with Huber Heights and the county needs to take place. And Matt,
did they disagree with that?
No.
Okay.
They truly believe that. And I think everybody listening to your podcast would say the exact same thing. Everybody complains about all of the work down at Cornerstone in Centerville, all of the Austin Landing development, everything going south of Huber, south of the county. Have we ever sat back and thought that maybe the reason all of that stuff is going south and that the county is pushing that south is because those relationships with city administrations, elected officials, in the southern areas of those communities?
So there are county grants involved in those?
There's a lot of county negotiations going on there from what I've been able to review publicly. Now, again, when you look at the northern three communities, Trotwood, Vandalia, and Huber, we've had a very hard time of getting county assistance and county to review, what's going on up here and take an interest in what's going on. Now, am I saying that the county is 100% right in their thought? No. But having a bad relationship on a city level with the county surely is not helping us.
No, it's not.
And as an elected official, it is my job for the 40,000 plus residents in Huber Heights that we need to fix this relationship quick, and we need to get on a fast track to become business friendlier, and rebuild those relationships. And it starts with our city administration.
So did you get a sense sitting down in that county building on the 11th floor that there is a disconnect somewhere or something that's difficult between